Oh, wait, did you say you're going to post it on YouTube?
It might be hosted on YouTube. Um, I don't know. Thanks for coming. Thanks for making time for this. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Well, if it's okay with you, I don't want to take up too much of your time, so I'll just get started. Um, Suppose my first question was, how did you originally hear about Theaters Without Borders, come in contact with Theaters Without Borders, and what were your initial thoughts?
Yes, I'm trying to think. They're all rather muffled because we're in the theater and community practice globally. So, if I'm not mistaken, oh, yes, yes, it is with the playwright Elaine Avila. She was working with Chantal Bilodeau. Did you meet with Chantal by any chance?
Oh, you said.
You did? Oh, wonderful. So I met with Chantal, and we were working on theater and climate change. This was 2015, I believe. And that's how it all started. And there's like a bunch of artists and playwrights involved. Caridad Svich was with no passport, and Chantal was working on climate change plays. Elaine Avila was also working on climate change plays. And that's how I met with Roberta Levitow, right? And we were doing a no passport conference. Oliver Mayer, the playwright and professor at USC, whom I worked with uh, in 2007, almost 20 years ago, connected me with Caridad Svich and said, "Oh, I think you'd be great for this conference in Baton Rouge." This was in 2014. And through that, I got connected with, it's so weird how things aligned. All of a sudden, everything came together. Got connected with Elaine, and we did a conference at NYU um, with no passport, which was also in conjunction with a conference with Theater Without Borders. And that's how it all started.
Wow. Um, Before, I guess you had been introduced to Theaters Without Borders. Had your theater work before centered or came into contact with any sort of internationalist type theater projects or efforts?
Um, uh, so I'm Filipino. I'm from the Philippines. So by moving to this country, that answers that. Uh, and my work is called the Immigrants Diasporic Imagination, and that is basically the theatrical praxis and pedagogy that I profess is uh, engaging and interrogating the whole notion of what it is like to have that hyphenate of immigrant.
Mhm.
So, first generation immigrant, an immigrant, 1.5 immigrant. So, I'm considered what a 1.5 immigrant is. And so, and the word immigrant constitutes to international work, right? So, um, by default, that's that's basically what I do. And the thing is, I just want to do work that amplifies who I am and my positionalities. It just so happens that being a Filipino with mixed race identities of indigenous, colonial, uh, and ethnically mixed Filipino identity, I am just what that is. It's so hard, right? It's such an interesting question because for people like myself, uh, I just fit that mold.
Yeah, yeah.
Not in the Philippines. In the Philippines, I'm just Filipino.
Um, well, then, coming into Theatre Board of Chantal, obviously with a lot of climate or with the context of climate work, how do you personally see both within Theatre Borders and I suppose with your personal experience as an immigrant and working internationally, that climate activism, uh, art about climate change kind of fits in with a more international theater project?
Oh yeah, climate activism is social activism. Yeah, and this is exactly the reason why I'm got involved with CCTA and Chantal is that the people who are vehemently affected by the climate change crisis are countries who are not as affluent, right? Um, yeah. Um, I mean, I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the crises, hurricanes and earthquakes in Southeast Asia are vastly affected. The people are vastly affected because of urban planning and the structural aspects of what we do in our countries, uh, and the impact it has in countries that are continuously developing. Um, and that's the problem that we face is that instantaneous capitalism uh, kind of dissuades and excludes the conscientiousness of, oh, we probably don't want to build here just because of this issue, right? We probably don't want to have claimed land because of the impact of the Pacific Ocean being bombarded by sand, right? So it's so interconnected. So the place that I wrote, Fugas Fugas de la Piel Canela and the Fisherman and Rain and the Fisherman are all affecting people in these countries that need assistance, not only socially speaking, but also with the climate. I mean, look at what's happening in Venezuela right now with the earthquake, right? It's so disheartening, and it's so interlinked. Um, yeah.
And have you seen the networks, the conversations, and events hosted by Theatre Without Borders or spurred on through the connections people have within Theatre Without Borders? Have you seen them be able to successfully bring about conversations on these types of subjects? Have you seen them? Yeah,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I met Daniel Banks from DNA Works. Did you get to talk to Daniel already?
I will next week.
Oh, wonderful. So Daniel and I are dear friends, and we worked on The Secret Share, which just premiered this year at Boston. I was one of the original creatives for the project, and we're consistently. Oh, I just saw him in Puerto Rico for the theater conference that we had, so we got to see each other there. And I spoke with Caridad Svich. Yeah, we're all, and I think about the most important part about it is it's not just projects and theater. There's a community element to it, right? So there's a relationship that we continuously have to hone um, with all these different artists that we work with.
And I suppose that harkens back to Theater Without Borders, like core values, right? The volunteer-based network, just like a broad network of people, grassroots. How have you seen those values, or have you seen those values be able to enable Theater Without Borders to either have conversations or touch on subjects that for other organizations, especially some that I don't know have a lot of funding or need to worry about yeah, worry about funding and work in different ways. I guess how have you seen Theater Without Borders be unique from other organizations?
I think what's so special about TWB is the network. It really is. And obviously, Roberta's just so well connected as a Fulbright scholar. And I mean, it is through her that I ended up presenting at the Kampala Theater Festival, right? Um, I think what's so special about TWB is it really harnesses the human connection and experience that money just cannot buy. you know, Network and relationships are key. Um, for instance, I teach here in Los Angeles, and I remember during the pandemic, uh, right before the pandemic, I was actually working with Daniel Banks in Moncton, New Brunswick for the Secret Share. So that was in 2020. We started the project in 2019. In 2020, we were in Moncton, Canada, working on the Secret Share, and we got back on March 14th, and that's the day when everything shut down. Luckily, when we were at the border, we were in the Canadian side, you were already going through American immigration. So when we arrived, it was already as if we were already in the States, as opposed to international folks coming in. And I don't know if you remember, but they were just stuck at the airport and, it's just pandemonium. Um, and I was talking to Roberta, I was like, well, I was supposed to go to Vienna, and then Vienna happened with the coronavirus, and I was gonna go to Australia and Singapore. And one thing, and this is the special part of the network, is that, well, we were all supposed to go everywhere, but now we can't go anywhere. But one thing that we can do is we have the online presence, and so we created Canto Cuentos, uh, these short films um, where people in their spaces would film their location. So I believe there were 10 stories. It's on the website, on YouTube. It's like Canto Cuentos has like we invited artists. I invited artists from different parts of the world. I was like, well, I can't go there right now, but you can create where you are. So we had someone create in Turin, Italy. We had people in Australia, Puerto Rico, Japan, Singapore, Texas. And we created this beautiful film, a short film collection of where people were during the height of the pandemic. And at the end of each film, it says April 2020, right? It says the date that it was filmed. Um, and I still use that for my classes. And I think it's such a great vehicle of um, what we did and what we're still doing. If there is a way to connect with one another, regardless of what situation you are in.
That's a that's a beautiful example. Um, do you see that connection with other people, that networking to be um, specifically important in today's world, in today's time?
Absolutely. I'm going to Singapore in a couple of days. I'm doing a workshop. Yes, absolutely. And I think what's beautiful about social media and the technology now, is that it's instantaneous. And I think the pandemic would have been vastly different if we didn't have social media, right? Um, uh, so we are consistently connecting. One thing that we were able to do with climate change theater action, and my involvement with them for several years was I was able to connect Chantal to Kamil Haq in Singapore, right? So we were able to do this phenomenal network of international presentations on climate change and climate crisis through this kind of network, and and because of the work that I do and the people that I connect with, it is theater without borders.
Hmm.
You know.
Oh, I know you already mentioned quite a few examples of really amazing exemplary work you've done with Theatre Without Borders. But apart from that, are there any specific events or moments or just conversations you've had with someone through Theatre Without Borders that still stick with you to this day or have been extremely important to yourself?
Oh yeah, yeah. Julie Hedren and Tricklock
Hmm.
theater in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We did. There was a conference there with Theater Without Borders, and that relationship really changed the way I see the world and how I work with people. The Turklock Theater Company really utilized device theater, and we did um, some work in Bogota, Colombia,
Hmm.
and that was through Tricklock with some Theater Without Borders folks. And the thing about it is, it's a network, right? So all of us have our own practices disparate to that, right? So that experience was really phenomenal to work with Tricklock and go to Bogota, Colombia, and work with the community there. Um, uh, and to be able to tell those narratives. And I think what's really important is this this mindset of we're gonna work with the community and and hope that the community continues to work, and that hope is always true because they at the end of the day we get to leave and they are there to
Hmm.
deal with that, right? um, it's not this colonial mindset of let me go there and fix things, which is obviously the most heinous thing that this world has seen of colonization, right?
Hmm.
Regardless of what part of the world and who colonized who. I think what Theater Without Borders does is to create sustainable relationships, ongoing relationships with organizations around the world, and say it's an exchange, right? So that when we go there, we create work together, uh, and then you sustain the work in the hopes that you are able to come to our space and create that work as well. And that's the work that I did with um, uh, Australia. TK Polk, who was part of the Asian Australian Collective, we were able to go to Australia and work with the National Play Festival, and then they were amplifying narratives from Asian Australians, and we brought that to Singapore, and then he joined at the Kata conference in Portland, or not Portland, Ashland, Oregon. So it's this thriving relationship that you have with folks. It just doesn't end where okay, well, let me just go there and fix it because there's nothing to fix, right? It's um, uh, there's always work to do uh, to ensure that the narratives are continuously being told, so to
Hmm.
speak.
Oh, that's beautiful. I think those are literally most of the questions I had for you today. I do want to ask before we leave or wrap this up, if there's anything else you'd like to say or anything you'd like to touch upon.
No, 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 no. I think it's wonderful that we continually do this work
Yeah.
for the community, and not just globally, but also nationally. I think
Hmm.
more than more than anything, I think I talk a lot about the international work, but for me, national work is as important, especially in a time like this.
Hmm.
Um, Theater Without Borders includes borders in our country. A lot of the work that I did with Chantal took us to Alaska, but also I go on tour and I work in the South. Going to the Appalachian Mountains
Hmm.
and seeing the people there, or the Sixth Ward of New Orleans, and ensuring that we don't leave people behind.
Hmm.
I think it's the important thing that I want to leave with is that, or even in Albuquerque, New Mexico, there's the poverty rate in the Southwest, or across the street from where I live, right? So I think the more we go outside of our spaces internationally, it's also important to go back in, and look within and look at our community in the city that we live in and see how we could um, be of service.
Hmm. Thank you so much for this. Thank you so much for your time and for these amazing words.
Thank you, Nix.
Of course. I hope you have yourself an amazing